Recognizing the member for Abbotsford South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm pleased to stand in the House to speak on disability employment, and I thank the member opposite for his comments. The challenges COVID has brought to our communities continue to be prevalent today, especially in our current job market. BC still has 15,000 fewer full-time jobs compared to pre-pandemic levels, and as businesses and workers continue to face the economic pressures of COVID, they are facing an increasingly unaffordable housing market, a lack of affordable and available childcare spaces, and many other social and economic challenges that are keeping them from fully entering the workforce. The situation is dire. But I'm proud to see many discussions taking place in this House throughout this legislative session on how to remove the barriers that are keeping British Columbians from seeking and finding employment. When we're discussing these obstacles, it is imperative that we discuss the additional barriers that a significant percentage of British Columbians face daily, and that is people living with a disability. British Columbians living with a disability represent a large percentage of our current potential workforce, Mr. Speaker. Close to 1,926,000 people in BC over the age of 15 live with some form of a disability. Nearly a quarter, 25% of our province's population. We truly cannot have a discussion about the issues keeping people from entering the workforce without discussing the physical, economic, and social barriers these British Columbians face on a daily basis. What's more, COVID has disproportionately impacted workers with disabilities and has created unprecedented challenges for many who are immunocompromised, have been cut off from their support networks, and are now struggling to access the supports they rely on in our stressed healthcare system. We have a duty as public servants to ensure we build a more accessible province for all, Mr. Speaker, and this includes the elimination of the physical and invisible barriers that currently exist in far too many workplaces. We must create spaces where it is unthinkable to not have adequate functional accessible parking or access to American Sign Language, and encourage proper workplace practices that accommodate all disability groups and cultures. Think about it. Among those with disabilities aged 25 to 64 years of age who are not employed and not attending school, 39% want to work. That represents nearly 645,000 people with disability. It's a talent pool that's hiding in plain sight, not because they're invisible, but because still today, many employers simply don't see them. If society could implement measures to improve workplace accessibility, it would enable over 500,000 Canadians with disabilities to work more hours, which would increase the GDP by $16.8 billion by 2030. There are champions here in this House and outside. As mentioned, there are people like Tamara Vrooman at YVR and Robin Sylvester from the Port Metro Vancouver. I'm sure we can all point to someone in our community who gets it. The President's Council, established by the former government, continues today to provide a place for employers who want to see this change, to learn, to share, and to lead by example. What I've learned from talking to constituents and members is that many young people with disabilities don't have access to the standard first job experiences to start building their resume. The question that employers at all levels need to be asking themselves is, are my hiring practices excluding people? Are the processes necessary, or do they keep out applicants with disabilities? Is there a feedback loop? Do we know who has been hired or who has not, and why? Do my job descriptions include a list of factors which are not essential to the job, like a driver's license, for instance? Unfortunately, many people still think hiring a person with a disability means hiring someone to do very simple jobs and tasks. It's simply untrue, Mr. Speaker. There are people with disabilities ready, willing, and able to work across the continuum. And lastly, government needs to get out of the way. Support programs that trap disabilities Rather than encourage and enable independence, how can we reform these programs to better support employment, Mr. Speaker? Are our post-secondary institutions doing what they can? Are co-ops effectively used? And are students with disabilities left behind?
Thank you, Member.
Let's ask the tough questions, Mr. Speaker, so we can get to the right answers.